Hello and welcome to lesson number 5. We're going to talk about your web hosting today and the big question, is your web hosting slowing your WordPress site down? This is a big variable that a lot of times we don't even think about. Did you know that most web hosting setups are just not made for WordPress? This is especially true if you're paying for a shared web hosting plan, which is in my guess the majority of you. While it may be working now, if you do have a WordPress site and it is running fast, your site will slow down as you begin to grow. Let me explain this and help you better understand the idea. I'm going to give you an analogy here. Imagine if you lived in a house, but instead of having 1 or 2 roommates, you now had 100 or 200 roommates. The more roommates you have, the more chaotic it becomes. If you think about just adding 5 or 10 or 100 people, your life will turn into chaos, because now you have other people who may have different intentions that will affect you in some way. Now, think about it deeper. You barely have any room. You don't have room in the fridge to store your food. And if you have a few roommates that are causing problems, what happens? If you think about it, it often spreads to everybody else, right? If somebody decides, hey, let's go have a party, everybody is going to have a party. Everybody's going to jump in. As silly as this sounds, this is what shared hosting is like. On the flip side, you might have heard of a dedicated server. They tend to cost a lot more money, about $150 to $200 per month. But it's kind of like owning your house. Instead of having 100 roommates or even 2 roommates, you own that house. It's on your own rules, and whatever happens in that house happens in that house. But it's usually well worth that amount of money because you don't have to worry about others trying to mess up your life. Most of you will not be able to afford $150 to $200 a month, especially if you're starting out as a small business. The next big thing is what we call a VPS, or Virtual Private Server. Now, let me give you an example of what it is. This is like living in an apartment with your own roommates, and the apartment is split up into individual rooms. So you have your own room within the apartment housing. That's what a VPS, or a Virtual Private Server, is. Whatever happens in your own room affects your room. If you drop a plate, if you drop some milk, or if something bad happens in your room, it's in your room. You don't get affected by others. In a real virtual private server, it's basically like having a house where whenever somebody affects you in the other apartment, like maybe below you or above you, they're not going to affect you directly. So if they crash their server or they crash their website, that will not affect you. That's the beauty of a VPS, or Virtual Private Server. That said, not all VPSs are created equal either. In fact, there are a lot of web hosting companies out there that fully understand and capitalize in WordPress. The way they set up their memory, the hard drives, and the software is optimized for WordPress. It's kind of like going to a cardiologist for your heart problems versus to a general practitioner. The general practitioner may understand a little bit about your heart and how to help you, but the cardiologist is really going to know how to help you. So, yes, go to a specialized web host to get hosted because they understand your needs specifically. They understand WordPress and how it operates. That's why I say a lot of VPSs out there are not made for WordPress. Therefore, even if you get a good VPS, you might find that your site does not run fast. But if you find a VPS specialized in WordPress, you'll find that your WordPress site will actually run fast because they understand what affects what. They've taken all these variables into account and made it easier for you to make sure that your site is running fast. Let's discuss a few places that would be great for running your WordPress site. What you're looking for is managed WordPress hosting. The first one that we recommend is called wpengine.com, and they specialize in WordPress. One thing I would mention here is, whenever you look at the pricing will cost a little bit more than a usual web host, but that's because they specialize in WordPress. So, when you get an account with them, they will set it up in a way so that it is WordPress friendly. Like I said before, most virtual private servers or dedicated servers are not really made for WordPress, so wpengine.com is a good one. The next one is called wpxhosting.com. One thing to know is I would definitely not recommend places like HostGator.com. Even though a lot of these web hosting companies will say that they are WordPress friendly, a lot of times that's kind of like going to a general practitioner when you're having a heart problem. They're saying, well, we could offer you some advice for your heart, but in reality, you want to go to a specialist, right? These two web hosting companies specialize in WordPress, so I definitely can recommend these two for your WordPress site.